New Deltarune chapter is out, and here I am talking about an Elden Ring mod. Don't worry, next video will be about chapter 5. But today's topic is Convergence, a pretty popular mod in Elden Ring modding community. And it's easy to see why, as this mod completely changes the looks and the level designs of many legacy dungeons and minor side dungeons, and even adding new original areas while at it. Oh, and it adds some new bosses here and there. And today I thought it would be an interesting topic to take a look at these new bosses. Some will be grouped together, some I will rank separately, you know the drill. Also, I will only be ranking the new bosses. I won't be including some vanilla bosses that got changed in some way, shape or form. As per usual, they will be ranked in tiers going from F to S. Also, one more thing before we start ranking these bosses, it's important to establish that all of the bosses borrow moves and attacks from vanilla Elden Ring, and in some cases borrow attacks from other FromSoft games. This isn't a bad thing. I think the best bosses in this mod borrow moves and attacks from a wide variety of different bosses, and remix them in such a way that it makes them stand out more as a unique and fun encounter. I bring this up because you'll understand why certain bosses are ranked so high. And why Scion of the Sealed God is ranked dead last. This is an abysmal fight that misses the mark on so many levels. First phase is just a reskinned demi-human queen, an enemy that I think is pretty boring and lame, but now it has Scarlet Rot instead of magic spam. Scarlet Rot AoEs aren't a bad addition, but they can be pretty hard to spot when the lock-on for the boss is high up its body, which pulls the camera down, harming its visibility. But you can memorize where the lingering effects will be whenever it drags its staff across the ground. The AI can also be exploited very easily when you're up close, as the only things it can do are dragging the staff and slamming the ground. Those are the only two things it can do, which heavily limits its moveset. When it's close to dying, it will throw its staff and resort to attacking you like a mindless beast. Which for the longest time I didn't even know was a thing, as most of the times I would kill it very quickly. And well, there is not much to see in this phase regardless if you see it or not. But okay, first part of the fight, not too bad. But the second phase, oh boy, it's a complete shit show. It takes the form of Demon Prince, which is a boss that I really like, and decided to make it a terrible boss. The camera is the absolute worst here. For many of its attacks, I cannot tell what the timing of my dodge should be, nor can I tell if I'm at all supposed to be dodging them. And a lot of its moves leave lingering hitboxes, which will quickly build up rot in your vicinity. And keep in mind, this is Lake of Rot levels of damage. You'll die quickly unless you have means to counter it, like with the talisman that completely negates any rot buildup. But the problem still persists. The camera is shit. And in case you're wondering, for Demon Prince the camera is slightly pulled out so you can see the attacks in question. Also, the Prince's attacks don't require super precise dodge timings and such. Scion requires them. I don't understand why they couldn't just pull out the camera. They did that with the Fire Giant. They have the technology. We don't need another contender for the worst camera in a Souls game. All this on top of the fact that this is the boss that caps off the reworked Lake of Rot, which is actually a good area. Yeah, Lake of Rot, the empty lake in vanilla, has been turned into an actual level that is fun to traverse. And it's crowned by this rotting nightmare. One of the worst bosses I've ever seen. Fuck this boss. Number 21, Blighted Nox Ancestor, is a much better foe, but not by much. Honestly, I completely forgot that this guy even existed. When I was refighting every boss for the footage, not once did this guy cross my mind. And when I eventually remembered to refight him, I soon understood why. This is just a regular big skeleton enemy, but can use magic from afar, in which case you most likely won't even see the move, as you'll be battling him up close, and all you'll see are just breath attacks and some swings. That's all. The NPC before him is a much more deserving of a boss title than him. Number 20, Vigo, High Priest of Iglay, is just a crystal sage, but without the clone phase you'd think. Instead, all he does are AoEs, explosions, and repetitive slashes. That's pretty much the whole fight. It's not annoying, it's not bullshit, it's just nothing. I give him slight props for being more visually unique than the Blighted Nox, but I don't even know what to say about him, he just exists, I guess. The dungeon preceding him was cool though, but I wish it ended on a more memorable boss than him. Sigurd, Knight's Captain, is yet another mediocre boss that did manage to avoid bottom 2 tiers. How? Well, he's more engaging than both Vigo and Blighted Nox, and he isn't mechanically bullshit like Scion. Visually pretty neat to combine an Omen and Knight's Cavalry into one, and I like when he uses the Omen based attacks in tandem with his swings, but most of the times he will do this one combo over and over and over again. Like, dude, are you drunk or something? Stop spinning around already. But yeah, pretty mid encounter. Number 18, Sierra, Blade of the Ancients, completely replaces Godskin Duo. Such a shame, since I know this is everyone's favorite gang fight. Sierra exists, it certainly just exists. It's just a lion enemy, but with lightning AoEs. That's the whole fight. I mean, I don't mind fighting it and I like the variations of her landing strikes, but again, very mediocre. Gora's Scourge of Dreams did something unthinkable. It made fighting a rune bear actually tolerable. A rune bear, one of the most infuriating enemies in the whole game, is not that bad to fight. Usually it leaves ground AoEs and the slams require a more precise rolling. And I also like how the charge is much better telegraphed with the glow on its head. Still mediocre, but you know, it's enjoyable. Number 16, Night Mistress, along with Stormcaller and Tempest Caller, share the spot together. Why? Because they're very identical. Only difference is Night Mistress uses magic, while the other two use wind, and their melee offense is just 1-to-1. These are fine mini-bosses, but I think they would fit much better as just regular enemies, not a boss. Well, in case with wind dudes, they do appear as just that in reworked Fort of Reprimand. They're decent as that, but not as good as a boss. And that's the exact same sentiment I have for number 15, Mystic Huntress, who is just a clean rot knight with a spear. And like them, she has a big disadvantage if you're using a bigger weapon, as she is more susceptible to getting stun locked. What puts her above the other mediocre entries is her phase 2, where she can combo her attacks with the Ancestor Spirit, which work decently well actually. They're always telegraphed when the spirit makes a sound, and it can do either a quick slam or delayed follow-ups. That's pretty neat. But it does feel like a diet version of Kmar, who, spoiler alert, is a really good boss. Again, the fight was neat. It's just it doesn't cut it for C tier. Number 14, Doc, Stormcaller Lord, did cut through the C tier. Or should I say, smashed his way into C tier. Unlike with the Huntress, he cannot be stun-locked with bigger weapons, which forces you to actually engage with his moveset. He may be just a reskinned Kaiden warrior, but he utilizes his weapon, the Ruined Greatsword, really well by doing delayed follow-ups, ground eruptions, long combos, and utilizing the weapon's unique Ash of War. I quite like his ground eruptions and how much they incentivize you to be mindful of your positioning and such. I also appreciate him for replacing that terrible Crucible Knight and Misbegotten Warrior duo. But speaking of Misbegotten Warrior, at number 13 is his King Leader, Dairu Scavenger King. This is one boss that I am 50-50 when it comes to overall enjoyment. Well, to be specific, I don't like Phase 1, but I do like Phase 2. Phase 1 isn't bad, but it's just Leonine's moveset, but with wind effects, and this combo is new. But yeah, it's just Leonine's moveset, which, I don't know if it's a hot take, I don't like their movesets all that much. I've seen it so many times that I've gotten sick of it. Though thankfully in Phase 2 he just ditches the sword and becomes more animalistic, more erratic, and more fun. I like the inclusion of jumpable attacks with his stomps and smashing the ground. He has horror loop grabs, avoiding his hand swipes require both good timing and positioning. Although I don't think his swipes should stun lock you that easily when you get hit by one of them. Skill issue on my part for getting hit in the first place, but I don't think you should be punished further with such basic swings. So despite Dairo having the title of a king, he is miles away from reaching the throne of excellency. Rhee's Carrion Paragor is up next, who does resemble a banished knight with a halberd, but has numerous additions to make him stand out, like the magic waves that he can send from his spear, or dragging his spear across the ground before releasing it with full force, and comboing his attacks with glint blades. Phase 2 mostly adds more magic attacks, while also extending some of his combos. I don't have much to say in regards to him. He's just an overall decent mini-boss that gets overshadowed by the major boss later in the same area. Number 11. Shibriri's Chosen. Well, this might be a hot take, considering how much this guy is hated. And to be frank, I used to be in the same camp. I despised this fight with every fiber of my being. Well, that was before 3.0 update, where he finally got fixed. Before the update, he would just tank your performance as soon as he entered phase 2. His random threads and explosions would easily hit you and stun lock you, the run back is shit, etc. But now, the performance has been patched, and the frenzy explosions have been nerfed. Their hitbox is now smaller and can't easily stun lock you. What used to be my least favorite part of the fight became my favorite addition for how much they add to it. The boss is pretty simple for the most part, but adding those explosions add a lot of depth to how you have to approach him. I also like the arena being this place of frenzy taking over, and Merika's statue head being swapped for frenzy. Looks pretty cool. I just like the overall atmosphere of the place. He gets a little bit undermined when he shows up again in Midra's Manse as just an elite enemy, which works fine enough, but wish they created a new enemy for that zone instead of recycling an already existing boss. Number 10, Quicksilver Husk is one of the more unique encounters in the game solely for its atmosphere and the way she is animated. She borrows a lot from Black Knife Assassins and a bit from Everdark Harmonia, which makes her really hard to read as she is moving around like a headless zombie, which I can't harp on it too much. She's an experiment of sort, of course she would act like that. For the longest time I couldn't figure out her combos as she is guilty of mixing in quick jabs and delaying her attacks for a bit, and some of them leave lingering hitboxes. In the end I did manage to learn most of her moves, though with her model being nearly the size of player's model, it's sometimes hard to read some of her quick stabs. But my favorite aspect of the fight is the gimmick. It might look like she has a colossal health, till you realize that hitting the white orb will do most of the damage. This happens when you either break her stance or when she screams randomly, in which case the orb will eject out of her body and attempt to heal lost health. That's a pretty cool gimmick. Also her grab is so over the top, like, bro, what the hell did their grab do to you? But let's stop talking about mindless zombies for once. And finally talk about the Vulgar Militia cosplaying as Boogie.
Being alive! I hate being alive! I hate breathing! I hate being alive! Here, pause!
Vulgar Militia Chief is possibly the single funniest encounter in the whole mod, with him having fucking jiggle physics, trying to squash you with his butt, and making the whole arena quake with his massive butt attacks. It sounds so stupid, but I can't believe I'm saying this. Those attacks, as comedic and stupid looking as they are actually pretty good, either as a reaction check or testing your dodge timings. He has very basic combos, but I like when he mixes in some rock swings and such. Halfway through the battle he will exit the stage and summon minions for you to fight them, while he just chills in the background. So as comedic and stupid as this fight might seem, the amount of effort and personality that has been put in the chief just makes me have to put him in here. Number 8. Rite Keepers of Ra are found all throughout the Land of Shadow. They act like Earthtree Avatar in that sense, but are much better than them. First of all, they are good and fun fights, and second of all, each of them has something unique to them, like Scorched Keeper who can do fire-based attacks, while the Iridescent one can do magic projectiles and lightning projectiles. They are all enjoyable to fight, though not all of them are created equally. Some variants result to very basic and tame attacks, like this variant who does rock throws. Wow, so threatening. Compare that to the Deft variant who can pull a frickin' waterfowl dance on you. So yeah, some are okay, but some are really good. And there's a lot of potential to this concept in the future. Like I could see devs making the variant that takes all the advantages of all different keepers combined. Sort of like what Sigrun from God of War is. Also, I have to bring up the soundtrack that plays every time you fight them. It's pretty good, it sounds really nice. Einar Ice Guardian might not have the same memorable soundtrack, but he is a better boss in my eyes. While he borrows a lot from Godfrey, I do like his ice after effects after he does either a stomp or a big charge. 3-hit combo can be brutal, but is also satisfying to fully avoid. The snow wave looks cool, no pun intended, and I like the ice explosions whenever he slams his big hammer. I don't have much to say about him. He is all around good. Maybe his phase 1 could be less repetitive, but still nothing to complain about really. Number 6. Conrad. Oh, wait, no, this is the wrong one. There we go, it's this one. Pure Blood Knight. This guy stood out to me for being one of the best mini-bosses in the game, and having a really good soundtrack. His health is not that big, but damn his offense is quite insane. He is basically a Fire Knight but equipped with Blood Flame instead of Mesmer Fire, which allows him to do aerial denials like Moog. He can also do Blood Slash attacks following his sword swings, or stomp the ground and send a shockwave on your way. His grab is also very unique. Should you get hit by it, you'll be tied to chains and forced to take hits from Blood Spears. And it does a ton of damage, so you definitely do not want to get grabbed by it. He also has another grab that will heal him if he succeeds at hitting you with it. Conrad has a lot going for him. He is demanding, complex, difficult, but also fun to learn. It's a shame he doesn't have phase 2. If he had it, then he would definitely be the best boss that isn't a remembrance. Instead, Idris, Godskin Deceiver takes his spot as the best non-remembrance boss in the mod. His attacks might not be as demanding as with Conrad, but his animations are clean, and unlike Conrad, Idris isn't lacking in phase 2. Second phase is the best part of the fight where he gains more new moves, more follow-ups, and more combo mix-ups. My favorite attacks from him are when he can follow up the tracking fireballs with a lunge, or the attack where he slams the ground that forces you to jump over it. His basic swings are for the most part very readable, though I got caught by this follow-up so many times and I don't even know why that was the case. Idris is good, with no glaring flaws, though maybe they should have given the guy a different running animation. This one looks like he shit his pants. Number 4 is Oh, okay, never mind. It's Scarred. A boss who has a lot going for in phase 2, but not so much in phase 1, which is just a Crucible Knight with maybe like 1 or 2 changes. Pretty lame for a remembrance. But phase 2, while also having Crucible Knight DNA, gains a lot of new moves. Tail Swipe is there as a reaction check, he gains a grab, he can throw rocks, send shockwaves, fly at you, spin his weapon for some reason. He gets a lot of new moves, and the best part about this phase is how he can mix in the order of attack chains and such. Take his fly move for instance. Sometimes he follows this move with either smashing the ground with his weapon, or sending rock spikes, or sending a shockwave. Same logic goes for many of his other attacks. He will branch out to completely different moves either based on your positioning or RNG. I think that's cool. I like when bosses can mix their order of attack chains and such. Though I don't think it's still enough to push Scarred to A tier personally, since his phase 1 is pretty lackluster. Finally an A tier entry, which I admit took far longer than it should have. Scarred was close, but I decided to reserve A tier only to those who were outstanding. Godskin Matriarch, who is one of the more complex and demanding bosses in the mod, because some of her attack chains and her comboing melee swings with fireballs took me a while to figure out, since it felt impossible to dodge both her swings and the tracking fireball, till I realized backing away and then rolling will put you in a safe spot. Besides that, phase 1 is mostly tame, but phase 2 amplifies the difficulty by 10 when she forsakes Black Flame in favor of using Destined Death. Here many of her previously established attacks have been changed, such as setting the ground on fire, and she gains a lot of new deadly combos, which are some of the best attacks to fully avoid. And the way she can branch out to those set combos, chef kiss. Only downside to them is it's sometimes hard to read when you're supposed to roll. But if you're determined to learn their timings, god, they are so satisfying to avoid. The overall quality of this boss is so high that it makes me wonder, how are this and this in the same mod? What? But yeah, this boss is fantastic. Wish more of the bosses were the same quality as her, or even better than her. But besides their graph, only Kmart matches her quality. This is one of the more unique bosses in the mod, who has a lot of build up through the reworked Seofra River, where you find many statues of his name, while also getting ambushed by his spirit animals, which is a prominent mechanic where he can either send his animals to attack you with a snap of a finger, or turn into one of them, either as a bird or as a bear, which I only recently noticed that he turns into Goras, which is a pretty neat detail. His melee combos are also pretty good, and I like how he can use sleep effect and can send butterflies that will explode. Phase 2 adds more new attacks and a whole gimmick of him turning into animals, and has something that I love in boss fights: flow. He has very little pauses between each attack, yet he is perfectly balanced so that you can get hits between those set attacks and combos. It kind of reminds me of Mesmer's amazing flow in Phase 2, where no downtime is wasted, and yet you're given ample of opportunities to strike him back. That's the way I see Kmar's Phase 2. Only slight issue I have with him is that I wish he could transform into different animals instead of just a bird or a bear, which 9 times out of 10 he resorts to transforming into the bird. Still ton of fun, but let's be real. There is only one boss who deserves that S tier, and that's none other than Graph. This boss is so good that my standards for modded bosses in Souls games has been raised. Now I know that this level of quality can be reached. Phase 1 alone is like already better than anything on the list. He's a mage equipped with basic magic, tracking ice spike eruptions, bubbles, lasers, basic swings, spike explosions, ice spear explosions, a unique grab attack, and ice spikes on the ground. His toolkit is big and varied, and each of the previously mentioned attacks require a different way of avoiding them. And some you can fully take the advantage of, such as the big laser. The attack is so powerful that it knocks Graph, which is a free riposte, and I like the ice spikes on the ground that are there to punish you for being overly aggressive. He is a fantastic spellcaster boss. He's so good that he shits on like almost every mage boss Prom has made, besides Libra. And Phase 2 amps up the quality even more when he turns into a faint Dragon Lord, and becomes an amalgamation of so many different bosses. Let's see, he has Mesmer's attacks, Relana's, Romina's, Ishin's, Horalu's, and he can use the attacks of Divine Warriors. And they're designed in such a way that it fits Graph perfectly. The attacks are tough, demanding. They can branch out in so many ways. They can be extended if you try to run away from them. He can just shoot lightning straight in your face. And like with Kmar, he has very little downtime between each combo, and yet you're given clear openings. This is what excellency and perfection looks like. This is what Sign of the Shit boss design looks like. As a whole, Graph succeeds in many regards. He succeeds in being a fantastic mage boss in the first half, and being a relentless but fair fight in his second half. and being a boss that caps off Naxambra, one of if not the best areas in the mod. It's easy to see why he is number 1. Faint Dragonlord deserves to be promoted to king status, cause this boss deserves the throne. And there you go, that's the ranking. Nice to be back to talking about some modded content. Haven't done that since the Infernum video. I may have been overly harsh in the beginning of the video, but it comes from place of care, since I know the devs can make some fantastic stuff, which they proved with their graph. So I hope in the future we see more bosses of the similar quality. I know they are capable of doing it, but remember, at the end of the day, even the worst boss in the mod is still better than whatever the fuck Garden of Ice is doing with their own bosses. Anyway, thanks for watching, and now it's time to return to the Dark World yet again. See ya.